So, hi Jeff, thank
Hello.
you for coming to the bookshop. It's an absolute
Beautiful
delight to
bookshop.
come. I would request you to, if you could quickly just introduce yourself
Yeah,
as a bookseller, as a fellow book lover, passionate lover of books.
yeah. I've been a bookseller for almost 30 years. Spent my entire life in bookstores. I run two stores in Chicago, Seminary Co-op Bookstore and 57th Street Books. And we are the first and only not-for-profit bookstore whose mission is bookselling. What does that mean? It means that we don't do anything more noble than bookselling, and that is noble, right? So that's who I am.
So, how did you get into this profession?
I happened my way into it, just trying to find a job when I was a teenager. I was working in libraries before, and then I started working in a bookstore because I wanted to be around books, and I couldn't imagine doing anything else. I was not made for anything else. I was not fit to do anything else, and so I ended up building a career in bookstores, which nobody ever plans to do, right? Oh, good, we have a customer. This is good. Let's talk to our customer.
You saying you got into book selling because there was
Nothing else to
nothing.
do. Yeah. And then ended up staying in it. And
When was that? I mean, when did you get into it?
I started 1994 is when I first started.
And
And
you have any lineage of any book selling history in
nope,
your family?
no lineage. A lot of lineage of reading and having books around. So there's books, always books wherever I went, but no book selling in the family.
Before getting into the profession, if I could ask, what was your qualification and your degree, education?
None.
Oh,
I had no qualifications. I grew up Orthodox Jewish, so I went to yeshivas, and then, I went to a high school and started in a college, but didn't go very far, and wanted to have my own reading life, follow my own curiosity, and no qualifications whatsoever. Learned it all on the job. Yeah.
then it must have been a little difficult. I mean, was it a good paying job or more satisfying? How did you sustain yourself in the initial years?
No, it's not. It's not a good paying job. I don't know how it is here, but it's considered retail and entry level, and there's a lot of passion that goes into the work, and it's through passion that we have built our cohorts of booksellers throughout the years. But one of the things that and I've been very lucky. So then I ended up running stores, very big stores tied to universities. I was at University of California, Berkeley. I was at Stanford University. Because they're tied to universities and they're large, the remuneration is good. But in general, booksellers don't have that privilege. So I've been very lucky, and I'm hoping because I'm on the other side of it now, where I've had a 30-year career. Hopefully, I'll be able to retire as a bookseller. But I'm, more than halfway there. That if those who are coming up now, who are my age when I started, they could actually aspire to a career in bookselling and envision a pathway that produces livable wages and retirement and ability to home and raise a family. That's the ideal.
But tell me one thing, I'm sure you would have been asked this earlier also. You say, we all know book selling is a tough profession, but one of the richest persons we know in the world started selling books and became what he did. So there is certain amount of power and money involved in this profession through this profession. How do we balance both? You run a cooperative bookshop. And running an independent bookshop is as it is very easy. Now running the cooperative is you get the responsibility of the community along with what you are doing, maybe your family, your staff family.
I think we need to check the premise here because the idea that somebody made that much money selling books, that's fallacious. He actually lost a lot of money selling books, and his model, and this is one of the perils of market driven retail in this way. Uh, he lost money, I think, for 20 years. Billions, in fact, and that was a good thing because he was able to sell to investors that were market share, and we're building market share. We're losing more money by selling more things. Shouldn't we keep losing? And the answer was, yeah, let's keep doing that. And then eventually turned it around. And so and it was cutting the costs of books, which devalued the books, right? And so now made it hard for people who did just sell books and not raise money from investors to make a living and make a case. So no, there's no money in selling books, and certainly let me say this: there's no money in selling books that are meant to uh, inform, inspire, delight, or books of a certain kind, separate from the books that sell quickly, which are wonderful books. Nothing against them; they're fantastic. Everybody loves Prince Harry. or whomever the person of the day is, and we can set records selling those books. But those aren't books that are meant to be read 1,000 years from now, or 20 years from now, or a year from now necessarily. And that they're the same business to support both is part of the challenge for us who are trying to sell serious books that endure. We want to think about them differently. So for us, we have books that will sit on the shelf for almost a year. On average, our books sit on the shelf for almost a year, and we sell a copy on average, which means there are some that take 5 years. And then we bring them back in because, that one person who found that one book is going to change their life, and it was meant for that one person. And it ripens, right? It's ripening on the shelf. I can probably find books that are ripening on the shelf here, actually.
But the satisfaction of somebody who comes for it, it's worth its price in gold.
Yeah, exactly. And because what a good bookstore does is create incredible browsing experiences, a book on the shelf is actually it's already earning its keep, because if it's fun to browse through, even if the person doesn't buy it, it might be the thing that keeps them, their eyes going across the shelf. So books can earn their shelf space without selling sometimes.
If you could also take me through, the ethos and the infrastructure or the characteristic of a cooperative bookshop vis-a-vis an independent bookshop, because honestly, it's a new concept for me.
Right.
How different is a cooperative bookshop from a normal independent bookshop?
Right. So we were a cooperative bookshop for 58 years, and then we became a nonprofit 3 years ago. And so I'm going to speak a little bit about the nonprofit side. The cooperative side failed, didn't work. So I wouldn't recommend it. And it's where there's a group of owners who are supposedly investing in it, but it's very difficult to get. We had 60,000 people who were part owners, including me.
In one bookshop?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, but it failed. It's not a model to follow. It's fascinating model. Fascinating idea. It would be nice if it worked, but it doesn't.
But this one physical entity, or you had multiple branches?
No, there was two.
Okay.
But one physical entity for the first 20 years, and then another one for the next 35.
Okay.
But then it became a not-for-profit, which means it's unowned. It's owned by the community. Okay. If it went out of business, anything that was left would go into other not-for-profit endeavors, and it means that what we're meant to do is create cultural dividends, not financial returns, and that difference is critical.
Okay. So that's what I'm saying. It is critical to survive as much.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing is that we're not retail. So I don't know how it is here, but the idea that we could buy at a certain price and then sell at retail and make a living off of the difference, it doesn't work. It makes absolutely no sense.
Yeah.
And if we wanted to do that and be retailers, we would sell something else, which is what most booksellers do. We want to say the selling of books is our cultural work. So we are selling things, but it's not retail. And we are not-for-profit whose mission is to sell you things, and you're paying for them, but what you're spending at the register is not what's sustaining us. We're getting that money elsewhere, including from people who are buying at the register, who are either giving us money or paying us for our services, because booksellers are professionals. We're not, our virtue isn't in our ability to buy cheap and sell dear. It's not in our ability to turn over stock quickly. It's in all of these other things that we provide: the expertise, the discernment, the assemblage, the filtration, all the things that we do. That's what the value is. And you don't ask a sommelier to. I can buy that bottle of wine in a store for a certain price. No, you're actually paying for the expertise and experience of having an expert help you navigate impossible to navigate environment.
I'm in this profession for the last 30 years, and we've been in this for the last 60 years. But this is the first time in my life I've heard somebody say booksellers are professionals.
Exactly. Exactly.
I'm delighted to hear those words. Yeah. So, this also brings me to another question. How do you establish that in the community? I mean, you had 60,000 people. Were they booksellers or just readers?
They were readers.
The 60,000 people.
They were readers.
They were readers. So how do you establish the essence of a bookseller as a professional in the community?
That's what we're trying to figure out, and hopefully the book will help answer that. And it will be the short answer is we haven't succeeded, because when we succeed, there will be wages that reflect that. We haven't succeeded.
But that's what I want your thoughts. What you think can make that happen? You're figuring out, but in the 25, 30 years of your own personal experience of working in this bookshop. Generally, I mean, whatever you.
Yeah, I think educating any potential funders and anyone in the industry about the value of the work and the actual current wages, how low they are, and how difficult it is to make a living, and doing it in a way that's not condescending or didactic or attempting to say, oh, we make so little, and someone else is going to say, oh, really? I'll make more than I should. Let me give you something. Everyone feels like they make too little. But then when you put the numbers out there and say, no, this is what we're making, that actually, I think, makes a difference. I mean, I'd be curious to hear your perspective because you're third generation. You grew up in this. Hopefully, there'll be a fourth generation that takes over. What is the future? How do you make it work, and what is the future as far as you can see for book selling, especially considering the current environment?
Well, I'm just trying to, make book selling a cool profession. I mean, it's not lucrative. At least it has a lot of eyeballs, or maybe there are people at least in our part of the world, that people have this fear of missing out. We call it pseudo intellectuals, and I'm just trying to inspire them, if I could say so, through the interactions of having a few people in the community, telling them that these are 300 books you guys have to read,
Right.
and we'll choose one of you guys to be in the conversation with the author.
Amazing.
So somewhere that inspires at least, maybe 20, 30, 50 people to raise their hands and come on this side of the stage. And then they go back and tell multiple more people that
Right.
let's do this. So started doing all these things in different sects of the society, the organizations, the institutions, corporates, just trying to work.
Great. Well, I think you hit on a key point, which is in order to create great booksellers, we have to create great readers and more demand for books, which I think is one of the most difficult parts of this. Is reading is not as those of us who love books and know what it means to spend days and days and days reading, sharing that enthusiasm itself, I think, is a huge thing.
So, Jeff, one last question I want to ask you. Why should a child become a bookseller?
Why should a child become a bookseller? Because that child will get to live such a fulfilled life among books, readers, and what happens in a space like this. I mean, I bet there are days where you can't tell where you end and the shop begins, right? And the way in which that transaction happens between the exterior landscape and the interior landscape, and suddenly, you're walking the space and, you are, I get the Christie book, and you're suddenly walking through Dante's Paradise, and you're part of all of it. That's the world that you live in. Who wants to do anything else? Why would you do anything else? I think that's the real question. Why would you do anything but become a bookseller?
Lovely.
Yeah.
Thanks a ton, Mari. Had a wonderful talk. So, for those who don't know, Jeff has written this beautiful book called In Praise of Good Bookstores. He's an independent bookseller from Chicago. Get your copy. Thank you for watching this video. If you also love conversations at a bookstore, please do subscribe and like this channel. And if you wish to host your favorite author over a chat, do mention the same in the comment box and witness magic happen. Please also visit our website www.rajatbookcorner. This is Mohit Batras signing off.